have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. Melody, when we were having the phone trouble, I was giving a little history lesson of being poor in the United States, and the ones that used to sell their urine, and they were considered to be, you know what, poor, and I didn't want to say the word on the air. And then those who, what's that?
Wee.
Yeah, we be poor.
Go ahead.
we poor. And then there was those who, they kept their food in a kettle over the fire all the time, and they, let the fire die down at night, and then they'd fire it back up in the morning. It was usually vegetables and water, and, it was a stew, and they just kept adding to it. And once in a while, they'd have bacon. And those that had a little meat were considered a little wealthy. So they'd have meat in there, and they would have, that's where the peas porridge pot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot 9 days old came from, as well as bringing home the bacon. The men that could bring home the bacon, that had a job, and they could bring home the bacon, the meat. And then also they would hang that bacon there so their guests that came over could see that they had wealth, that they had meat. And they would sit around and chew the fat. And so those were some of those sayings came from. And we've had a lot of poor times in this nation, and people of all colors. These people happen to be white, and but they were all colors that we've had as poor and downtrodden, and we all go through that. And they're predicting, and I'm not saying we're going to get back to that, although it's going to get ugly if things collapse. It's just the way it's going to be. However, it made me think of all these racist remarks like the white privilege. Well, those people weren't very privileged back then, but they considered themselves lucky to be able to go sell their urine and have a little money, But Goldman Sachs, and I know what you think of them, but they are predicting next year's economy to get down to a crawl and just really not do well at all. And, after all the bragging we've done, not we, but that has been done in the media, not in the mainstream media, but the others and President Trump and all that, about how things have improved to some degree, and we have jobs coming back and in certain areas of the nation, that, all that's going to take time. But as you said, if our currency continues to be unstable without any backing, and should things collapse, it's not a matter of if but when, as you say. We could go back to the peas porridge pot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in the pot 9 days old, and that's not a good picture.
Well, it isn't a good picture, but we all survive.
Yes, they do.
And
yes,
it's
true.
Unfortunately, it's done without us doing anything to create the situations, except going along with it all so many years. And but when it's us who get hit the hardest, and we're the ones that have to deal with it. Those who created the problems, will just go on, so they lose $1 billion or $2. It's no big deal to them. It's much easier for them to recoup their losses than it is for us. So, and again, that isn't any different than what history has done hundreds of years, time and time again. It's just, I guess to some degree, it's just a cycle. And but this time, we've lived in a pretty nice world for how many years? Hardly anything bad has happened, and we haven't seen the structural damage that the fiat currency has done. There is a day of reckoning coming for that. We've seen it with the way government reacts, the growth of government, the waste that government seems to, relish. And again, none of the problems are being fixed. And their easy fix is going to be to hit the entitlements. Already, I've seen this morning. I was watching the Fox News for they had that Stuart Barney or whatever his name is on there, and I like the guy. But he's just sitting there just saying, hey, we've got the greatest economy ever. We're not heading into a recession. Everything is great. Go out and buy for the holiday season.
Tiptoe through the tulips,
if they're already, touting because they've seen the drops in the stock market, they are concerned about a weak holiday purchasing. Retail sales are down, and so whether people have just had a stepped away from retail, waiting for Black Friday and everything else after that, I don't know, but there are cracks in the economy. And by them coming out already and touting what a great, terrific holiday season we're going to have, tells me that we probably won't. They always do so.
Well, they're encouraging it that, the more people spend, the better it is. So they're encouraging that spending. And that's all part of these economists. That's part of their plan, is to spend. And so they don't encourage anybody to put back or to save or to prepare for the bad times, and you can't prepare for everything, but you can prepare as best you can for certain things. And this is one way you can prepare, is to diversify, I like to say, and put some of your money, some of your investment in gold and silver. And
absolutely. And, as long as we had that fiat currency, there was another, I can't remember if it was Jamie Dimon or one of the central bank, not central bank, but, one of the big banks talking about, don't hoard cash. You're going to lose to inflation. And people just don't grasp that just by holding all the cash, that's exactly what's going to happen. Prices are not going to go down. Taxes are not going to go down. Everything is going to rise. It's just the way it is, and that's what you have when you have a fiat currency. That is, it's not going to change. So people have to work harder. They have to work longer. They have to, because wages are not going up. So you have to get additional jobs just to keep their standard of living the same. It's very hard to improve. And you just look at our government, just look at our country. We can't increase our we can't fix our infrastructure. There's no money there. Where's it going to come from? The taxpayer's broke.
Yeah.
You have to have
the old saying.
You have to have other nations support our debt so we can do our infrastructure. And from what I'm reading, that's not happening either.
No, they're all hurting too. They all got fiat dollars. Well, one thing that is concerning, like in the last election that we had, the other things that were on the ballots besides Republicans and Democrats were entities or entitlements or more taxing to do this or to that. And people have this attitude, like Cortez, that the government can pay for everything. Well, where's that money going to come from? Well, I don't know. I mean, she admits she hasn't got a clue where it's going to come from. And, they're like a little kid, that just thinks mom and daddy can just keep handing it over to them. Well, there's a limit. It's not, it doesn't grow on trees, as the old saying goes. And
folks like that's not going to have any problem taking out Social Security so they can fund free schools and other health care. They'll take from the senior citizens that have pensions and so forth, and maybe there should be some sort of a test to see, because there's millionaires out there that get Social Security checks. Yeah. I mean, come on. Yes, you paid into it, but so it's maybe there should be a means testing or something for Social Security, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who will disagree and so forth. But I'm just throwing it, whether I agree with it or not, I'm just throwing it out there as, this is what we're going to see in the future.
Well, or leave the people, which would really devastate the government, leave the people with the option to either do their own Social Security or to send it in if they trust the government. I, for one, don't trust them, but,
But it is true, though. You have a lot of the younger people, though, and so forth. It's hard for them to save because it's the economy that we live in.
Right.
So when they get to that retirement age, they're not going to have any money anyway, so government will have to, step in anyway.
We're headed into a break. Your calls are welcome today at 877-895-5410. I know you're busy baking pies, but you can give us a call. Go to dgscoins.com, and we will be right back.